All right, let's do a couple examples. So example 1, we've got x squared plus 9x plus 20, and we want to factor the trinomial. So remember, our first step is always check for a GCF. So what would our GCF for this one be? Well, it would just be 1, right? 1, 9, and 20 don't have anything in common besides 1. They don't all have an x, so we can't pull an x out either. Now remember, when the GCF is 1, we can just move on. Okay, if it's not 1, we have to divide it and pull it out. But if it's 1 and we divide everything by 1, it stays the same. So we can move on to step 2, which is finding A, B, and C. So A is, remember, the number in front of x squared. So in this case, it's going to be 1. If there's no number, it's always 1. B is going to be 9. And C is our constant, 20. All right, so let's do our next step, A times C, which is 1 times 20. And 1 times 20 is just 20. So we need two numbers that multiply to 20 and add up to our B value, remember, which is 9. Okay, so do we all see where we got step 4 from? A times C. That was 20 in this case. So multiply to 20 and add up to our B value, which is 9. So we're just going to do this how you did it before. So I'm going to make a list of everything that multiplies to 20. And then we're going to see which one of them adds up to 9. And if you add all these up, you'll see that 4 plus 5 is 9. So 4 and 5 are our two numbers. All right, now I'm going to do the box method just because that's what most of you prefer to do. If you do by grouping, feel free to do that and then let me know if you have questions. So we're going to draw our box. And we've got first term in the first box. So x squared in the first box and 20 in the last box. Now instead of putting 9x in here, we're going to split it up to be 4x and 5x. Okay, and it doesn't matter which one you put where. You can switch those and put 4x at the bottom and 5x at the top. You'll get the same answer either way. Okay, so now we've got our 4 terms that we're used to, right? That we've been doing in 3.2. So now we can factor our box. So let's look. What do x squared and 4x have in common? Well, they both have an x. And if that side's x, what's going to go up here to get us to x squared? Well, that's going to be x as well, right? X times x is x squared. If that side's x, what's this side going to be to get us to 5x? Well, that's going to be 5. If that side's 5, what's this side going to be to get us to 20? That would be 4. And we always double check our last box. Is x times 4 4x? Yes. So we know our answer is x plus 5 times x plus 4. So the sides are our answer, just like in 3.2. You can also write x plus 4 times x plus 5. Remember, it doesn't matter which order they're in, as long as these two are together and these two are together. All right, so that's example 1. Let's move on to example 2. So let's check for our GCF here. GCF is going to be, what goes into all of these? 7. Okay, so it's not 1, so that means we have to divide everything. So we're going to divide by 7, and remember, whatever our GCF is comes out front. So 7a squared divided by 7, the 7's turn into a 1, so all we have is a squared. 49a divided by 7, 49 divided by 7 is just 7, and then that a doesn't have an a to make it go away, so it's staying there. And then 56 divided by 7 is 8. All right, so now we've pulled our GCF out, so let's find ABC. So our A value, when we're finding our ABC, if we've pulled the GCF out, we're not looking at our original function, we're looking at the inside of our new one. Okay, so A is going to be 1. B is that 7 right there. And C is 8. Okay, so if we do A times C, next step, 1 times 8, that's 8. So we need two numbers that multiply to 8 and add up to our B value, which is 7. So multiplies to 8, we've got 1 times 8, 2 times 4, and that's it. Now if we add these together, 1 plus 8 is 9, so it's not that. 2 plus 4 is 6, so it's not that either. So nothing worked, and there's nothing else that we can multiply and get to 8. So what that means is that this is prime, that the most that we can factor it is this right here by just pulling out our 7. So that part would be your answer. So because it's prime, we can't keep going with the box. All we can do is pull out the GCF. All right. So why don't you guys pause the video, try example number 3, and then come back and check to make sure you got the right answer. All right, so you should have tried example 3. So let's go through this. Our GCF is just 1 again. So we can go straight to ABC. A is 1, B is 6, C is negative 16. So A times C is 1 times negative 16. So we need something that multiplies to negative 16 and adds up to 6. So remember, for multiplying to a negative number, we have to check 1 and negative 1. Okay, and they just flip negatives. So 1 and negative 16, and then negative 1 and 16. Now we got to check 2 and negative 2. So it's going to be negative 8 and positive 8. Does 3 go into 16? No. What about 4? Negative 4. Well, yeah, 4 times negative 4. And negative 4 times 4, which that's already on our list right there, so we don't have to write it again. Okay, so now we want to see which of these add up to 6. So you should have checked these, and you should have figured out that negative 2 plus 8 is going to be 6. So when we draw our box, remember, first term in the first box, so m squared first, last in the last, so negative 16. Then in our last two, we have negative 2m and 8m. Don't forget to add those m's. That's one of the most common mistakes. Okay, if we look at this top row, m squared and 8m have what in common? Well, they've got an m in common. If that's m, what's going to go up here to get to m squared? Another m. And m times what is negative 2m? Negative 2. Negative 2 times what is 16? That'd be 8. N is 8 times m, 8m. Yep, so our answer here, m minus 2 times m plus 8. All right, let's look at example number 4. So example number 4, our GCF, we always want to check for GCF first. Now we can see that 5 will go into all of them, but they also all have a p-value. So that means we can pull out a p as well. Because so let's divide everything by 5p. And then remember, our GCF always goes on the outside. So if we divide that, we should get p squared minus 10p minus, let's see, 120 divided by 5, 24. And then those p's will cancel out. All right, so now we're going to check our ABC. A is 1, B is negative 10, C is negative 24. That means A times C, 1 times negative 24, is just negative 24. So we need something that multiplies to negative 24 and adds up to negative 10. All right, so let's go through our negative 24. So again, you start at 1 and negative 1. We've got negative 24 and 24. 2 and negative 2 would be negative 12 and 12. 3, -3, -8, and 8. Okay, so we can keep going, but actually, there's just one more. 4 and -4, -6, and 6. Okay, so we need to see which one of these is going to add up to -10. So if you add all these together, 2 plus -12 should add up to -10. So this time it worked. Remember the first time when we had a GCF in example 2, it didn't work. But this time it will, so we can keep going. So we'll draw our box. First term in the first, but this time our first term, remember, is our new one, not our old one. So we've got p squared and -24 in our last. Then we're going to place that -10p with 2p and -12p. All right. So if we look at this, what do p squared and -12p have in common? Well, they both have a p. If that's p, what's going to go up here to get to p squared? Another p. If that's p, what's going to go down here to get to 2p? 2. If that's 2, what's going to go here to get to -24? That would be -12 is -12 times p, -12p. Yep. So we've got p plus 2 and p minus 12. Now this is where we have to be really careful because we pulled out a GCF. So we always have to remember to stick that at the front of our answer. So if I were you, I would circle it, draw an arrow, do something so you don't forget to include it in the end. But that would be our answer. All right, pause the video, try numbers 5 and 6, and then press play and let's see if you get them right. All right, so example 3, check for a GCF, and this GCF is 3. So if we divide out by 3, you should get x squared plus 8x minus 12. So a is 1, b is 8, c is -12. A times c is -12. So it multiplies to -12 and adds up to b. So if we make our list of everything that multiplies to -12, we need to check our 2's. It's -6 and 6. And then 3 will be -4 and 4. All right, so if we add all of these together, we'll actually find out that none of them add up to 8. So if none of them add up to 8, that means that we can't go any further. And what that means is that right here, this is our answer. So the most we can factor it is just pull out that GCF. All right, lastly, let's look at example 6 really quick. So GCF here is just going to be 1, so we can go straight to ABC. Okay, A is 1, B is -8, C is 15. So A times C, 1 times 15 is 15. So we need two numbers that multiply to 15 and add up to -8. So how can we multiply to a positive number but add up to a negative number? Well, remember, negative times a negative gets us that positive, and if we add those two negatives together, we'll get our negative number. So we're going to check all of our negative numbers. Actually, -2 doesn't go into it. -3 and -5. So those are all the things that multiply to 15. And if you do -3 plus -5, that's going to add up to -8. Now this one I'm going to do by grouping, just so that we can see at least one example like that. However, if you do the box on your own, you should end up with the same answer and you can still check it. Okay, so step 5 for grouping is to replace that bx with our new term. So we've got -3n and negative 5n plus 15. So those are just replacing our negative 8. Okay, then we're going to go through and make our groups. So n squared and negative 3n, what do those have in common? They both have an n. So we're going to divide that out, move it out front. We'll be left with n minus 3. Second one, we've got negative 5n plus 15. So this one we have to be careful because we actually want to factor out a negative number so that we get a positive and a negative here, just like we did in the first one. So instead of just pulling out 5, we're going to pull out negative 5, and that'll give us n minus 3. So now our signs match. And now we can take from our two chunks, pull that n minus 3 out, and all that's left is n minus 5. Okay, and that should be your answer. And you should get that same answer if you do the box. So if you did it wrong and you can't figure out why, come and talk to me. But otherwise, that's it for 3.3.